Okay, so it's Friday. Again, the week flew by, especially with a short week. That didn't help, right? So I wanted to get right into it, give you a few quick updates. Had a lot of questions on H2O and a few other things. So I'll give you a quick update. H2O, where we are in that process is we did a demonstration, or I should say precision engineering with Elan did a demonstration. And where we are right now with the process after demonstration is you have to review what the requirements of each customer are and what it's going to take to meet those requirements, right? And these are not, this isn't a cavalier requirement that the customer gives you on a whim, right? These are meeting EPA guidelines. They're very strict protocols that need to be followed. So we have to go, and then we have to itemize how we're going to meet those. So that's where they are. They are currently fielding the contracts. We've gone back and forth a few times. Spoke with Stan over there. I know Steve, in charge of legal over there, has been reviewing and or editing, like attorneys like to do, the contracts. He'll have those out in final form today. That is for anywhere between, I think he said 1 to 7 units initially. These are not the full water treatment center. This is not to save water. This is to meet guidelines to dispose of the water. The other units are currently being drafted under contract, and I'll get an update for you as soon as possible. There were a couple of challenges they had to overcome. One of which was a company that needed to meet certain requirements that they could not meet corporate requirements. So that customer had to be referred to us directly so that we could provide not only the equipment, but also the service thereof, right? So these contracts, I know it seems simple, the outside looking in, Alex, you want to sell a unit, why can't you just have the purchase order? That's not really how it works, because there's an ongoing service agreement that has to outline not just the requirements for on-site, but what we are obligated to provide, and in what time frame, right? So that's very sensitive. In some instances, it could be a matter of hours that we have to have someone on the plane on site if there's an issue. Okay, so that is currently underway, and we'll get you an update once those contracts and agreements close. I don't want to harp on that every week, but it's a process, especially when you're dealing with the size of these oil companies and the size of the legal team. It's robust, to say the least. Precision engineering, first stage filtration for the other contracts, they're ironing that out. I think that they're going to have that buttoned up sometime next week. Again, that's more of a legalese volley going back and forth. And of course, H2O will be providing the service and componentry, as well as some of the equipment. Okay. The Dreaming Company has launched, in case anyone missed it, the organic hand and body lotion, as well as the organic day cream. They will be releasing several new product lines over the next 6 months, ramping up into the holidays. The other update I want to give you was there was a little bit of a backlog because of shipping and the global shutdown and so forth on raw materials. We have now received all the raw materials we need, and in most instances for the remainder of the year. So we should not experience any shipping delays or fulfillment delays. It was coming close. I know they were a little worried over there, but they managed to pull it out, got everything through customs, and everything is in-house. And they are now in the process of mixing those materials and manufacturing the creams. So you may see in some cases that the inventory was getting low on some sites, but they're being replenished as we speak. Okay. The retinol serum has been one of the top movers, so that's been going very well. I think I kind of highlighted some of the sales. I'm not going to do that again, but it's been going very well over at the Dreaming Company. As far as Boost, where we are at Boost, it's kind of grown drastically. So we are now looking for additional management team members and potentially even a director to oversee those operations while we pull from their resources in some of the other companies that we're currently building. So that's growing very quickly. I'm very pleased with the progress they've made over there. Ossifix, where are we with Ossifix? I got a question on Ossifix and NextCast, so I figured I got more than one. Ossifix is in pre-production, and they're doing something pretty revolutionary. They are finalizing next generation instrumentation. So when you're performing these surgeries, there is instrumentation or a kit that will come that is proprietary to Ossifix, and that is being designed in-house in cooperation with some of the folks over at UAT to simplify but also improve the quality of a surgery and mitigate infection risk. We are moving, I won't spill the beans now, but we are moving to some pretty advanced materials, some disposal componentry as well. So that has been pretty big as far as the breakthrough that they've made, and not just the materials, but also bringing the cost down. You can make it out of whatever you like, but if it's not cost effective, we can't do it. They've been able to do that. So they're working with a spinal implant company, and part of the issues when you're dealing with Ossifix are not just the FDA requirements and surgical requirements, but some of the ISO requirements. So, and I actually received this question. I was impressed that someone had thought that far down the road. But what we are doing is we are manufacturing minimally manipulated allograft bone. That's how it's labeled within the FDA. And in order to do that, you have to, the facility that's manufacturing, as well as packaging, as well as storing and fulfilling, has to meet, what we refer to, or the FDA refers to as a 1345 ISO. So what we're looking at doing, or certification, I should say, what we're looking at doing is, after several rounds of discussion with approved facilities, I've decided that I think it's in not only Ossifix and not only NextCast and UAT, but also as the conglomerate as a whole. I feel it's in our best interest to build out our own facility that would be able to meet these guidelines. And it's not overly complicated. A lot of what it is within that particular certification is going to be refrigeration, storage, and obviously making sure that everything remains sterile. So we will be looking at putting in place within a UAT complex, and then UAT would then take on the responsibility of manufacturing, as it will be taking on the responsibility of manufacturing for all of the companies the further we move down the road and expand our capabilities to do so. We will be manufacturing according to that 1345 ISO certification of the allograft bone for Ossifix. That makes the most sense. It reduces costs, but it also protects the IP, going back and forth with non-disclosures, speaking with the legal teams, and then the requirements that they were attempting to put on us didn't make a lot of sense. So initially, we do have a third party that we're very friendly with, and we've been assisting in some capacity as far as spinal implants. What we're looking at doing is partnering with them on a temporary basis, and then we would take on the manufacturing by next year. So that's where we're at on that. So when people ask, what's the holdup? It's far more complicated than just saying manufacture this piece out of bone and ship it off. So we are, again, in the pre-production phase, but also we changed a lot of the tooling. So it's constantly evolving and developing, and it's gone very, very well. There hasn't been any real delay other than going back and forth with the legal teams on some of the non-disclosures to protect the IP. And that was unfortunate that we hit that hurdle, because it did take weeks and weeks to get through and address. Ultimately, they saw it our way to a certain extent. We were able to come up with a short-term solution so that we are not going to go off calendar, as it were. So again, moving forward with Ossifix, I would say towards the end of the year, which was the original prediction, we would be in production, and we would already have started looking at how UAT can take some of this and bring it in-house. And I don't know if I've discussed this previously, but it is my objective to house as much of manufacturing as possible within UAT under my direct purview for all subsidiaries, present and future. So building out our own bone bank is going to be a requirement, and we've spoken to many bone banks, Texas, Georgia, a few others, but I don't think that they were necessarily going to meet the best interests of Ossifix, so we decided that we're going to take a different direction in the long term. Okay. So NextCast, again, they're in pre-production, but something we haven't discussed is we are third generation down. Looking at, we've adjusted, or UAT has adjusted the power cell to meet those requirements, but also protect the higher level IP as far as what it was originally designed for. And we're working on some what we call closed foam laminate solutions for the cast, and that has gone incredibly well. I mean, where we were 6 months to a year ago versus where they are now is just, they've done a great job. So they've been really advancing the tech, and in the meantime, so you say, okay, Alex, you've done that, but what about selling this? We have to generate revenues. Again, this year is about building. However, we have been in contact with major medical distributors, some of the largest in the country, that even ship internationally, and we have provided samples, demonstrations, and we will be fielding those purchase orders. We are just going to complete and build out the final tooling for production for this final generation, and we'll get some data out for you when appropriate to do so, probably within the next 90 days or so. I will say one thing. One of the delays with NextCast, ironically, was one of the facilities that really is at the tip of the spear, as it were, that we were looking at working with is in a city in the United States that's experiencing a lot of civil unrest. So when we were going to send the guys out there, I decided to delay going out there for the safety of the folks on our team. So there was a little bit of a delay. Bacter, a lot of questions about Bacter. Obviously, I understand that. Novi is currently under review. There was a call. There's a follow-up call next week, and we're going to be moving forward with that. I don't want to get too far in the weeds on that. This is going to be a process where there are many emails, many phone calls, and updating you on every single one of them would take up a lot of time, but it's also really not prudent to do so. The end result is what matters, and I'm confident we're going to get to the end result, get the UA, and we're going to move forward. And then we'll start discussing on who we've been discussing or working with as far as contracts. We've been contacted by huge hospital systems, many medical facilities, and even schools and one of the airports that reached out to us. We are preparing to meet the requirements or the needs across the entire continent of the United States, and then we'll take a look at going outside because we have been receiving requests from outside the country. Obviously, that there's logistics associated with that need to be managed. However, but the continent of the United States, we have several manufacturers, and this was something that was asked, and I think I addressed in a previous video, but we have several manufacturers lined up to manufacture the devices or even some of the components for us, and then they can even do final assembly and fulfillment. So that was all done before we even filed the paperwork. So we are prepared for launch once we have the EUA. Okay. The other component of that was the production of the vials, the sample tubes, the collection tubes, and that's been resolved and even improved upon. And that's something we can go on in a future video down the road. A lot of questions about acquisitions. I'm not sure why. The answer to that is there are several that we're fielding. I've said this previously. Uh, will they happen this year? Or will they happen next year? What are those companies? These are all things I'm not going to get into until it's time to make the announcement and they're completed. I understand the interest and I appreciate it. I do. But the answer to that question is yes, we are. We always are looking at opportunities, not just to be a value add to these added companies, but also on some of the things that we need internally that we have to go outside for. In many instances, it makes sense to acquire them and bring them in-house, which is what we're going to be doing as a business model. Okay? So yes, we are reviewing several, whether they'll be executed upon this year or not. I'll let you know in the future once they're completed. Is that something we're working towards right now? I don't think adding more to the conglomerate right now would be useful unless I'm proven otherwise with some of the other tech that we are currently taking a look at. So I wouldn't expect the addition of a subsidiary, but it is possible, maybe with one or two of them. I'm not sure, so we'll see. But I'll keep you in the loop. Okay. Okay. So a couple of emails I want to address real quick. Couple of people asked me to respond to certain posts on social media. That is not, as a rule, I do not do that. I'm not going to do that. So this isn't something where I don't want to be responsive. I think I have proven that we have improved transparency and communication. And this was, it was kind of gone, it's a fine line for me. One particular individual had called in, was a little upset that I would not respond to all these separate posts, previous posts on all these different sites or chat rooms or wherever he gets them from, and complain that, we're not really providing enough due diligence for everyone. Once I explained, he realized that that was not necessarily an accurate assessment of how the company operates or what we provided. I mean, if you take a look at some of the statistics, YouTube's, the new channel is 2 months old, and we've put out over 9 hours of video, all of which really are, in my opinion, good sources to conduct due diligence and research the company. The other resource would be directly with OTC. Go there, look at the filings, take a look at things, make comparisons to previous efforts and so forth as they were. But if you're going to reach out to me and ask me to respond to a post that someone flippantly put out in 10, 15 seconds, you have to take a look at it from my point of view. I do this every single day, so I clearly can respond cogently and pretty directly to questions and concerns. If I did that with every post, I wouldn't be able to do my job. So, and I'm sure many of you understand that. But also, anything that there's any confrontation or disagreement on, the person is insulated behind a computer, and they're just going to, 2-second response, and we would have accomplished nothing other than me spending 20, 30, 40 minutes on pulling data and providing it to someone who was really not going to, put forth an honest effort, if you will. So I do not respond to social media or posts, and be quite frank, with everyone, I don't use social media. We have a department that does. I don't go on that. The only posts or anything that I review are sent to me from that department. So I'm not necessarily an active user of social media. So it's not something that I participate in. If there's a concern you have and you want to contact me, by all means, email me. I respond to hundreds of emails all the time. Today alone, I believe it was somewhere around 14, 15 emails that I responded to. And I try to provide the best answers and even links to resources that I can. Again, this is all public information, but the onus is always on the investor or the shareholder to do their own due diligence. I don't want to beat a dead horse with that, but I did receive several and a phone call, which I just wanted to make clear of. That's not something I normally do, and probably never will. So a couple other emails. There's a few individuals that email me quite regularly, which I think is great. I enjoy the back and forth. I would just caution, those who send me multiple emails daily and either request or demand an immediate response. That's not necessarily a fair or realistic expectation. There are, my days start somewhere between 03:30 and 04, and they go much later into the evening, usually somewhere around north of 2200, right? So I keep up with the emails, usually a 48 to 72-hour response. It used to be within 24, 48 hours, but there's been a lot of emails responsive. So I try to get to everyone. But if this is going to be something where it's demanded, it's just going to go to the bottom of the pile. There are many people who haven't had the opportunity to speak with me even once, let alone several times in a day. So just keep that in mind and be fair to your fellow shareholders. This can't be something where one or a small group of shareholders monopolizes all of the resource, right? So that's another thing, because it's been an increasing frequency amongst this small group, and I thought maybe putting a video out and directing it within the video might drive the point home a little more. Sometimes when you send it in the email, which I have, it may come across a little cold, which is not my intention, but I want to make sure that we understand that there has to be a sincere effort on both sides to generate resources and to field concerns. So where are we with OTC? So I'm going to pull up this email because I think it's important to share with you, where are we? So OTC responded yesterday, 6:30 in the evening, with comments. Luckily, it was nothing overly complicated. They're all very simple. But I think it's important for the shareholders to know, or you as an investor to understand the process, right? And it can be tedious at times. I don't expect everyone to understand this, but they have a process, they have a form they like to do it, and it is up to us to comply with that, which we're happy to do. But what were the comments? There were 3, right? And it was the title page. So the title page, they would like the information of outstanding shareholder count, the reporting period for that count, as well as the previous and fiscal year end. They would like that information that exists several times over within the disclosure statement, but they would like that now on the front page. It's a new format, or the title page. So we obviously made the correction. If there are any corporate entities, institutional shareholders, they would like to have the control person name. There were 2 in particular that they wanted some clarity on. We provided that clarity. Now, they do have a chart that they provide, and you have to do in their own format. We always follow those protocols. There were some narratives that needed to be put in place for clarity purposes, and they requested that there be a way to put that in the chart. So there was nothing that they asked for that was not already within the disclosure statement, but they do build in redundancy, and I understand that can be frustrating to some of the shareholders out there, but there was nothing where we fell short on data, accounting, or even disclosure. So it was just a matter of format in some instances, and a new change that was done with a title page. We've never had to do that before, so hence why we didn't do it this time. And then the next comment was on the legal opinion. They would like the legal opinion to specifically state year by year, year end. So that, the legal opinion, I'm sure many of you have read it, the legal opinion is all inclusive year to date for year end. We also put out Q1, so Q1 is going to now be included into the legal opinion. So there's minor changes. I spoke with Ernie over Colhan. He's waiting on us to send over the final draft of the disclosure. He'll do the legal opinion, everything will get uploaded, and it should go rather smoothly. I have been in constant communication with Nancy and Eric over there in compliance. We understand, and as well as legal, and Tom has, our CFO, have spoke directly with them. We've confirmed that this is all they need, so we are moving forward with that. So we'll have that uploaded shortly, and we're going to move forward. So that's where we are with that. I know it's frustrating. I know many people, and myself included, really believed, because I was told so, that we would be within 2 days or so, we would be through the process. But Eric found something last minute, especially with this new title page change, and we are accommodating their request in compliance with the rules and regulations that they set forth. So that's the update. Everything's been going very well. I am pleased, with the exception, I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get past the yield sign this week, but I'm sure we will next week, and then we will move forward. I've got some other really interesting things developing that I'd share with you. I don't know that I'll wait all the way to next Friday, but we will have them out to you as soon as, it's proven to do so. So hope everybody has a great weekend. I appreciate everyone's patience and support. I know Candace put out a tweet today asking for everyone's Friday meme or saying, and she sent me a few of them. They're pretty funny. So thank you for that. It made me laugh. And I know she has something working in the ways of a competition. I won't steal her thunder, but we'll be giving out some free corporate swag, as it were, right? That's the term. So everybody have a great weekend. Thank you for your support, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Thank you.